Imagine walking into your garden and seeing plants thriving like never before, their roots diving deep into soil that was once as hard as concrete. Picture vegetables growing twice as large as your neighbors, flowers blooming more vibrantly, and your entire garden transformed into the fertile paradise you've always dreamed of. This isn't fantasy. This is what happened to my garden after I discovered the revolutionary approach that finally conquered my stubborn clay soil. For years I watched fellow gardeners struggle with the same clay soil nightmare that plagued my own backyard. We'd swap stories of broken shovels, waterlogged beds, and plants that seemed to gasp for air in the suffocating earth. Traditional advice felt like band-aid solutions, offering temporary relief, but never addressing the core problem. That's when I stumbled upon a method that Korean master gardeners have been using for generations, a holistic approach that doesn't fight clay soil but transforms it from the inside out. Clay soil isn't just challenging, it's a perfect storm of gardening obstacles that can crush even the most determined green thumb. The microscopic particles pack together like a jigsaw puzzle with no gaps, creating an impenetrable barrier that suffocates plant roots and turns your garden into a seasonal swamp. When it rains, water sits on the surface like it's been poured onto concrete, and during dry spells, the soil cracks into concrete-hard chunks that could double as paving stones. My personal journey with clay soil began with optimism and ended with frustration that lasted nearly 3 growing seasons. I tried everything the internet suggested, adding sand which created something resembling concrete, tilling endlessly, which only made compaction worse, and throwing money at expensive soil amendments that promised miracles but delivered disappointment. Plants would struggle, roots would rot, and I'd watch my gardening dreams literally get stuck in the mud. The breaking point came when I planted a beautiful Japanese maple that cost me a small fortune, only to watch it slowly decline despite my best efforts. The roots couldn't penetrate the clay, water pooled around the base, and what should have been a showpiece turned into an expensive lesson in clay soil reality. That's when I knew I needed a completely different approach, one that worked with the soil's nature rather than against it. The breakthrough came during a conversation with an elderly Korean gardener at a local farmer's market. She mentioned something that stopped me in my tracks: don't break the clay, teach it to breathe. This wasn't about aggressive intervention or forcing change, but about creating conditions where clay particles naturally reorganize themselves into healthy soil structure through a process called flocculation. The science behind this transformation fascinated me. Clay particles are incredibly small and carry electrical charges that make them stick together in dense, airless masses. However, when you introduce specific organic compounds and beneficial microorganisms, these particles begin to clump together in larger, stable aggregates that create the porous structure plants desperately need. It's kind of like convincing individual puzzle pieces to form larger, more manageable groups that leave space for air and water to flow through. The visual evidence in my own garden became undeniable within just 1 growing season. Soil that once required a pickaxe to penetrate became crumbly and rich, easily worked with just a garden fork. Areas where water used to pool and stagnate began draining perfectly while still retaining the moisture plants needed. The transformation wasn't just functional, it was miraculous to witness. The first and most crucial element involves thinking about organic matter not as a quick fix, but as a long-term investment in your soil's future. Instead of the typical recommendation of adding a thin layer of compost once per year, I implemented what I call the Organic Matter Marathon, a sustained campaign of adding diverse organic materials throughout multiple seasons. This meant sourcing various types of organic matter-finished compost from my own bins, aged manure from local farms, shredded autumn leaves collected from neighbors, and even coffee grounds from local cafes. The key insight is that different organic materials decompose at different rates and feed different communities of soil organisms, creating a more robust and resilient soil ecosystem. I applied a thick layer of mixed organic matter every spring and fall, working it gently into the top 6 inches without disturbing the deeper soil structure. The breakthrough moment came when I realized that clay soil actually has incredible nutrient-holding capacity once you create the right structure for plants to access those nutrients. By consistently feeding the soil with organic matter, I wasn't just improving texture, I was building a nutrient bank that would support plant growth for years to come. So, cover crops became my secret weapon for breaking up clay soil from the inside out, working 24 hours a day, even when I wasn't in the garden. Instead of leaving beds bare during off-seasons, I planted deep-rooted cover crops that acted like living tillers, penetrating clay layers that no mechanical tool could reach effectively. My cover crop rotation included crimson clover for nitrogen fixation, winter rye for deep root penetration, and buckwheat for quick organic matter production. These plants didn't just break up compaction, they created channels that remained after the plants decomposed, providing permanent pathways for water, air, and future plant roots. The root exudates from these plants also fed beneficial soil microorganisms that continued the soil improvement process long after the plants were gone. The transformation became visible in spring when I could easily push a shovel into areas that had previously required serious muscle and determination. The cover crop roots had created a natural network of drainage channels, while adding organic matter directly to the root zone where plants needed it most. Mulching transformed from a simple garden chore into a sophisticated soil management strategy. I discovered that different mulching materials could address specific clay soil challenges while building long-term soil health. Wood chips created slow-release organic matter that fed soil organisms over multiple seasons, while shredded leaves provided faster decomposition and immediate soil structure improvement. The key breakthrough was understanding that mulch isn't just about weed suppression. It's about creating a controlled environment where soil organisms can thrive and continue improving soil structure even during winter months. I applied mulch in layers, starting with finer materials closest to the soil and coarser materials on top, mimicking the natural forest floor ecosystem that creates the world's richest soils. So, this layered mulching approach, it actually created a year-round soil improvement system that worked without any effort from me. Earthworms and other soil organisms would process the organic matter, creating castings that naturally improved soil structure, while the mulch regulated soil temperature and moisture levels. Rather than fighting clay soil's drainage challenges, I learned to engineer solutions that worked with the existing landscape while creating microclimates for different types of plants. This involved, subtle grading changes that directed water flow, strategic placement of organic matter to create absorption zones, and the installation of French drains in particularly problematic areas. The revelation came when I stopped thinking about drainage as simply moving water away and started considering how to create a water management system that captured, stored, and slowly released moisture throughout the growing season. Raised beds became water collection areas rather than elevated growing spaces, and swales directed runoff to specially prepared infiltration zones filled with compost and organic matter. This approach transformed problem areas into garden assets, creating moisture-retaining zones perfect for vegetables and well-drained areas ideal for herbs and Mediterranean plants, all within the same clay soil environment. The game-changing realization was that healthy clay soil isn't just about physical structure. It's about creating a thriving underground ecosystem of beneficial microorganisms that continuously improve soil conditions. I began actively cultivating soil biology through compost teas, mycorrhizal fungi inoculations, and creating habitat for beneficial soil organisms. This biological approach accelerated every other improvement I was making. Beneficial bacteria helped clay particles form stable aggregates, mycorrhizal fungi created extensive networks that improved nutrient uptake, and earthworms processed organic matter into perfect soil amendments while creating natural drainage channels. The partnership with soil biology actually created a self-sustaining system where the soil just kept on improving even without my intervention. Over time, it developed this kind of resilience to weather extremes, and honestly, it started naturally suppressing plant diseases, all thanks to increased biological diversity. Understanding when and how to work with clay soil, well, it became absolutely crucial to my success. I found out that clay soil has these very specific windows of opportunity when the moisture levels are just right for incorporating amendments. And working outside of those windows could, actually set back your progress pretty significantly. The optimal timing, really, it involved keeping a close eye on soil moisture levels, and only working when the soil reached that perfect balance, moist enough to mix in amendments, but not so wet that cultivation would create compaction. This usually meant waiting for certain weather patterns, and honestly, sometimes it meant delaying garden projects. But in the end, the results definitely justified the patience required. So, seasonal timing also applied to different amendments and techniques. Spring was just ideal for incorporating aged compost, while fall was perfect for adding fresh organic matter that would, decompose over winter. And then, summer really became the time for maintenance activities like mulch renewal and cover crop seeding. The final breakthrough, honestly, was shifting from that quick fix mentality to a long-term soil development vision. Instead of expecting immediate results, I went ahead and created a 5-year soil improvement plan that built upon previous seasons' work, while continuously expanding the improved areas of my garden. This long-term approach, well, it really allowed me to invest in more expensive but highly effective amendments like biochar and rock dust, knowing that their benefits would, compound over multiple seasons. It also meant planning plant selections and garden layout to support ongoing soil improvement, choosing deep-rooted perennials that would keep breaking up clay layers and annual vegetables that would both benefit from and contribute to the improving soil conditions. The transformation from concrete hard clay to rich living soil didn't happen overnight, but let me tell you, the steady progress became quite addictive. Each season brought noticeable improvements, and by the 3rd year, visitors just couldn't believe they were looking at the same garden that had once been a clay soil nightmare. The journey from clay soil frustration to gardening success isn't just about techniques. It's really about understanding that healthy soil is the foundation of everything else we want to achieve in our gardens. These 7 strategies work synergistically, each one amplifying the benefits of the others to create results that seem almost miraculous, but are actually the natural outcome of working with soil biology rather than against it. Your clay soil transformation is waiting to begin. And every day you delay is another day your plants could be thriving instead of just surviving. Start with whichever tip resonates most with your current situation and budget, but remember that the magic happens when these strategies work together as an integrated system. If this guide has opened your eyes to new possibilities for your clay soil challenges, make sure to subscribe to the Humus Heritage channel for more revolutionary gardening insights that go beyond conventional wisdom. Share this video with fellow gardeners who are struggling with clay soil. Together, we can transform gardens and grow a community of soil-smart gardeners who understand that healthy soil is the secret to extraordinary gardens. Your clay soil victory story could be the inspiration that helps another gardener finally achieve their garden dreams.